Good morning. This is the first step of the yard work, figuring out what kind of soil I have and whether it is acid or alkaline. Now, I ran into some interesting some interesting data points, I guess. In this jar, I put soil samples from 5 different areas of the yard. All of them are relatively close to the house, within about 20 feet of the house, but are spaced around the house. I took all of those soil samples, mixed them all up, put them in water, and this is what you have. Now, we've got a little bit of an issue. Based on what I'm seeing here, we've got a good mixture of soils. This, of course, is the water. I added that. This up here is all organics. Anything that floats, pieces of wood, pieces of grass, pieces of leaves, all of those kind of things, those are all going to float. So that's your organic layer up here. And it's got a pretty good amount of organics, not a lot, but it's there. And then we have the water, of course. Here's your water line. Then we have silt. Then we have, and I'm still trying to decide, because this is really, really fine particulates. The next layer is clay, but it doesn't appear to be a really cohesive clay. And then, of course, down here is sand. Sand is always going to sink to the bottom because it is made of pieces of rocks. So, looks like about a third silt, a third clay, a third sand. But when I got the soil samples from outside, I ran into something interesting. One of those soil samples appeared to be clay loam. One of the soil samples appeared to be sandy loam. One of the soil samples appeared to be completely sand. One of the soil samples appeared to be completely clay. And one of the soil samples appeared to be completely organics. Basically compost. And I'm assuming that had been put there as part of a garden area or something of that kind. May have been a long time in the past, but in any case, that's what we've got here. Most soil samples are going to be relatively cohesive. So if you have clay on one side of the house, you're probably going to have clay on another side of the house, within a range. But this was such a variety of soil types that I was very surprised by it. So the next step, and I cannot find my baking soda. So I pulled some borax. Borax is more alkaline than baking soda. So theoretically, this should work. So I'm going to take some samples of the water. I'm trying to get rid of this foam stuff on the surface and just get the water. Bugs in here. Had mosquitoes last week. I hope that's not what this is. Okay, so I'm going to make 2 puddles because I need to test alkaline and I need to test acid. Okay, there's our samples. This is going to tell us theoretically whether the soil is acid or alkaline. So the first one we will do acid, and I don't have my measuring spoons out yet, so I'm going to do okay, 4 drops, and that does not appear to be reacting. Possibly a tiny hint of reaction, but nothing obvious. So wipe off the spoon and again, I'm not really measuring, I'm just dumping. And again, not really a lot of reaction. Maybe need to redo this with baking soda when I find it, or washing soda. I haven't been able to find, I found one box of my laundry stuff, but I didn't find the, it doesn't appear to be any reaction. Possibly a tiny reaction on both, a tiny reaction on the acid, which means that the soil will be alkaline, and a tiny reaction on the base. That could be, I could be reading something into that that's not there. So either the soil is neutral or borax is not working, which, you know, is very possible. But I'm going to keep this so that when I find my baking soda, I can redo the tests. But so at this point, it appears that the soil is relatively neutral. And that is the mixture of soil is relatively neutral. We've got a good balance of soils. We've got silt, we've got clay, we've got sand, good layer of organics up here. And that foam on the top, I'm not sure what that is, because that happened when I shook the bottle up, which suggests to me that the soil itself was reacting with itself. So we may have some acid soil and some alkaline soil, and this right here was the reaction rather than having it happen here. It had already neutralized. So, but it looks like we have relatively neutral soil. So next week, this is Saturday. Next week, I need to start doing contour lines, and I got my chickies. I think I already put a video up for the chickens. But we had our first chicken adventure. Anyway, I think, did I already mention? I don't remember. I'm going to tell you anyway, because it was funny. Well, it was irritating and funny. One of the chickens, I went in there, I heard squawking, and I went in there, and one of the chickens was down on the ground on her side, and 4 of the other chickens, the rooster and 3 of the little tiny black ones, were pulling feathers out. So I figured, okay, this is a problem. I picked her up and I put her in her own box with water and food and, you know, so on. And she immediately learned what her wings are for, and she flew out. And I spent the next half hour chasing her around, trying to figure out how to get her back in the box. Finally got her back in the case, back in the bin with all of the other chickens. She seems to be fine so far. They do not appear to be picking on her at this point. My first chicken adventure. I will talk with you later.